Well, hello there and welcome to a free-for-all this time. We have 4 other players in a free-for-all and myself going to cast it for you. I will hop right in and resume recording when we're
Close-up explosions.
Boom! There we go. Right, so let's zoom right out and see where people have spawned. So here we have Irontony, Mushroomars, Bertitude, and Oxide246. Now, let's see where these players are. Mushroomars is down here in a rather secluded location, got a few mass locations around, but not too many, so we'll likely see Mushroomars doing some rapid expansion to claim these mechs sites as soon as possible. Going a little bit to the north of this, we have Bertitude. Got a few more mass sites going around, metal sites in fact. Really should be into the swing of saying metal now, my fault. And he'll probably expand to this northern mechs bunch over here. Looking around again, we then come to Irontony, who has spawned in the middle of one of these patches of mechs. So we'll probably see a lot of expansion in here and around as well, because there seems to be quite a fair bit in the near vicinity of Irontony, who's already got a vehicle factory and a fabricator going up straight away. And just to the east of this, we have Oxide246, who is going to want to compete with Irontony over these mech sites because they do not have too many themselves as a startup. So looking back around, without zooming out too far preferably, these players reasonably spaced, apart from Oxide and Irontony, who will probably see some early skirmishing between. Mushroomars really quite secluded down by the South Pole, Bertitude in the middle of nowhere really, and myself have already died. I wondered where the 5th player had gone, but of course that was me, and Mushroomars has already got an ant going up. Instead of getting a skitter going, they've got ants going to scout these mechs locations here to make sure no one has spawned near them. He will see that Bertitude is just a little bit to the north of them, and so will be a little bit more cautious in terms of taking them with a fabricator, and in the meantime can resort to these round the South Pole grassy area in the meantime. And that's a little bit of awkward zooming there. And Mushroomars wants to do a 2v2v2v2v2v2 on a map they played on before. Hopefully I can get in on casting that one, but because it's a 2v2v2v2v2 there won't be any casting space, so never mind. Now looking at this, we've got Bertitude going up with an air factory already and a bot factory, getting some fabricators out there. I wonder whether the air factory will be going for some bombers, but in comes the ant from Mushroomars, going to skirt around a little bit. Might have just seen the spawn of Bertitude. Not sure whether the ant had that vision. He's moving in now, so he definitely will see the spawn. There he goes. He's seen the spawn. He's shooting at the mechs. The commander sees, "Ow! There's an ant in my base." Pesticide cannon is not working very well. And the ant is just skirting away from the commander while Mushroomars is getting that free intel and a little bit of harassment as well. In the meantime, getting a few factories up in their base and sending ants the other way to Oxide, who has expanded, as has Irontony, who's taken those mech sites and is bringing a skitter down, which has just been shot out of the floor by an ant, who is now going to try and defend this with a scamper. Mushroomars sort of sending ants instead of skitters as scouts, and Irontony really building up on the mechs in the base now. Here we have the scampers preparing for what I would suspect would be to take out this fabricator before he can do too much more building. That would really hamper a little bit of the early construction power of Irontony, despite having these 3 fabricators here, 2 of which are focusing down on an energy generator. Meanwhile, Mushroomars is having an ant war. He's going to lose it without doing any form of lasting damage at all, while this ant is going to sit down here, sitting idle, and he's going to get taken out by a scamper and ant. Does he take out the scamper? Indeed he does, but the ant goes down. Looking around again, Mushroomars continuing to expand to any mechs he can. Really using his commander to do so is really good in the early expansion because he can build at that faster build speed using an alpha commander. Ooh, a pink one. Looks rather ominous. And Bertitude is sort of sitting a little bit tight now. Mushroomars, I think, exploiting this and getting ready for an early ant push. But Bertitude is getting up some static defenses, so Mushroomars will want to deal with that sooner rather than later. And Bertitude really wants to expand up north to get to those mech sites and expand that economy, but it doesn't appear as though that is going to formulate at any new point. And Oxide is taking on Irontony's expansion right now with some scampers and some ants. Something that I noticed when playing with Oxide before is that they do like to go with bots and ants in a beautiful mix there, and as long as they can, they will expand as far as possible and as wide as possible, as is exhibiting over here. So we'll see Oxide probably expand rather linearly through all of these mech sites and get up a bunch of factories, but in comes a rear attack force flanking with some ants from Mushroomars. The Scamper is just going to just about outrun those ants as they rotate, and no, he just manages to falter on that pathfinding there. The commander decides, okay, it's time for me to come in, and in he comes, taking out those ants and assisting with his own ones. Mushroomars does manage to take out mechs and what looked like an energy there in that rather larger explosion, but only doing that little bit of damage, while Mushroomars is free to get some T2 vehicles going. Probably see some early levelers or indeed some early tier 2 econ being built there. And Irontony really spamming up on the vehicle factories now, just getting as many as possible and getting that amp production rapid as soon as possible as well. Except static defenses from Oxide are giving him a little bit of trouble there, so he might want to skirt around that, maybe take out this radar. But in the back of, well, I say the back, it's now the middle of Oxide's base. We did have a little bit of ant raiding from Mushroomars. It was dealt with, but it is there, and Oxide has been kept on their toes a little bit here by the near spawn of Irontony and the flanking of Mushroomars. I think Mushroomars is pretty much leaving Bertitude to their own devices at this point, probably taking the gamble that they're not going to be too much of a threat, considering that they're turtling quite a lot there with some static defenses. But looking back over here is going to be our main point of focus now. Mushroomars beginning to get this sort of produced now, using a commander and a tier 1 fabricator. Getting it up reasonable pace. It could be going faster. But then again, you know, why would you focus down on it with lots of fabricators when you can use them on other things? Except he's not. He's only building one thing with radar over there, and other than that, I don't see any fabricators at all. I see 2 fabricators total from Mushroomars. That's a little bit strange. I would have expected a few more fabricators to get that building going a lot faster in the early game. Especially considering the factory counts now are starting to favour away from Mushroomars, but as soon as he starts using that tier 2 advantage, it is going to be put back squarely in his favour. Now Oxide expanding down here with his commander to some mechs, but he is in danger of getting some damage dealt to him by these ants here. He's going to turn around and go, "Oi! You vandalising my mechs?" And he's going to chase those off quite successfully, coming up with some scampers as well to support his commander in that. But the ants do have that superior movement speed. They do have that ability to micro around commander's shots. And indeed, here comes another Mushroomars assault in the flank, except it is going to be dealt with here by some Oxide's ants. And those are going to be dealt with. Mushroomars is going to come out on the advantage there. I wonder whether these scampers are going to be coming around and bringing up a flank of flanks and dealing with those 3 before they do anything else. Indeed, it looks as though this might be the case. These ants might want to stay here rather than following those scampers, especially considering Mushroomars' continued threat here. And now it's Irontony's turn to come in on all sides now with a large army of spinners and ants now. Time to go into dynamic camera mode while we watch this from above. Beautiful assault here from Irontony, really taking out a lot of Oxide's expansion on 2 fronts, and it might appear as though Oxide's commander is caught out a little bit here, and if those ants and spinners can really get the focus down on that commander, the commander is going to get in a little bit of a pickle. And it's not going to be too long until Mushroomars senses that something is afoot and comes in to exploit this and take out Oxide in the meantime. Except Oxide is going to use his commander to just sort of follow around these ants, and only his commander. But looking back at Oxide's base, he's got a lot of factories and he's got 2 tier 2s, bringing out some levelers now, so it might be time for Oxide to really get his commander out of there, unless he's going all Rambo. It looks as though it might be too late actually. His commander is going to start losing health quite rapidly. This might be a tricky time for Oxide. Will we see the end of him right here? Indeed, I think Oxide might be considering this as a GG moment. And that's just the zoom in, zoom out at the moment. I'm not sure quite what it is doing there in terms of the noises. And Mushroomars doing a little bit of dodgy trash talking there. Could be misconstrued, and Oxide is going to go down in a few seconds, especially if another leveler can follow up the rear there. He's going to leg it back into his base, hopefully getting some repairing done on his commander. But it's now the time for Irontony to really exploit this advantage and press in as much as possible. But there's a lot of interesting terrain features on this one. This isn't a rather spherical planet. Indeed, we've got the sort of elevation here, we've got hills, we've got high ground, all sorts going on, which is really interesting to see. And Mushroomars bringing up some ant forces, starting to conglomerate over there. And looking back for Bertitude up here, he's getting a tier 2 air factory. It looks as though Mushroomars has been doing a little bit of damage though, because there are some buildings which health bars are not 100%, and we are getting some bumblebees going. Maybe we'll see some hornets there from Bertitude. That's going to be interesting indeed. Looking back up here on these fronts, Irontony got quite a substantial base now, getting out some tier 2 assault with some shellers and levelers. That sheller really going to start packing a punch into Oxide's base, considering that long range and massive damage. Look at that, 1-hit kill on a mechs. That is ridiculous. But here comes into the middle of Oxide's base, that sheller already going away at that factory, pretty much 1-hit kill there with support from ants, and just continued pounding away now at various structures. This base is going to go down very rapidly with some sheller support. And is it time for Mushroomars to come up? No, it is not, because he sees, okay, something is going on over here. I'm just going to sit and build a tier 2 air factory in the middle of my base and just wait out this conflict with my energy and metal storage, which is again a little bit interesting. But we have been seeing it a little bit more in recent builds because of early econ in the terms of necessity of getting out that larger production. But Irontony is going to continue to press into Oxide's base, who is going to continue to be forced to retreat while being repaired by some of these fabricators now. But again, Irontony just wreaking havoc on all of this. Looking at Oxide's expansion, he doesn't have anything else other than this mech site down here. Not a lot of energy over there at all. Might be time for the commander to really get going, because those static defenses are going to be taken down, especially considering this is now a tier 2 heavy army. Shellers, levelers, ants, spinners, you name it, Irontony's got it. Well, he doesn't seem to have any levelers. That was a lie. Just looking back at his base briefly, indeed he does not have any levelers. He seems to have opted for shellers instead, and he's getting that tier 2 vehicle factory at the back of his base as well. Zooming back over here to see the how far Irontony is getting. He's just continuing to pound away with shellers, and you see that static defense there going down incredibly rapidly. Not entirely sure what that bot fabricator was doing, just sitting there spraying nothing with green gunge. But Irontony going to continue to press in now, and is going to really decimate Oxide's forces, who is going to be kept on the run right now. And nothing else is going to happen there. And zooming back round to Mushroomars' base, we see... is that a hornet, or is it just a dodgy spawn of hummingbird? No, that is a hummingbird. The hornet is from the tier 2 air factory, which I might have missed in my endeavours. In fact, no, it's not a tier 2 air factory. That was just my dodgy camera skills giving me a little bit of bother there. So actually only a tier 1 air from Mushroomars right now, but he is getting a lot of tier 2 vehicles. He's got some levelers, he's got all sorts going on right now. And zooming over here, we can see those levelers and ants really starting to press in and maybe just sit here and guard this mechs expansion from Mushroomars, sort of claiming the spoils of war here, while Oxide tries desperately to get up some units and forces to try and take out Irontony, who appears to have retreated after taking a one-on-one versus a commander, though the remainder of their force is going to sit here, and it might be apparent now that Mushroomars is sitting down here waiting to do a little bit of some counter-flanking and exploiting the fact that Irontony is busy elsewhere. And indeed the Shellers are now in range, and the penny drops as Irontony's forces linger there. Mushroomars might see this, he might not, he might choose to retreat, he might choose to push in, but it appears as though Irontony is going to continue to morph his units around and not do a huge amount there. Now, while that Cold War standoff is occurring, I'm going to zoom and try and find Bertitude. Here he is, getting the Hornets out now, probably preparing for a commander snipe, and got quite a few scampers as well. In come the Hornets and the Bumblebees. Looks as though I got it just at the right time, but the Spinners are going to shoot them down, the Hummingbirds are going to shoot them down as well, the Hornets are there, the Bumblebees are there, they're not going to make it to the commander. Down they go. Mushroomars has got that advanced intel there, and he's not going to get any further with that. He really wants to get the anti-air first. The Scampers coming in, taking out these ants, just saying, "Oi, we don't want a vanguard on our base, thank you very much." And Mushroomars is going to try and respond to this, I shouldn't wonder, because he has the Scampers there. He is going to move his ants here in a sort of beeline fashion to try and counter those who are now going to sit there and continue to guard the base. Now, quickly as possible, zooming over tier 2 energy, and on the horizon we see this battle taking place now. It looks as though Irontony is got the advantage here, has in fact, not is, Grammar Nazi mode activated, and this ants, Shellers and Spinners are going to zoom around now. Is it true? Yes, it is that Mushroomars' econ expansion here is undefended, apart from one tier 2 point defense, 2 tier 2 now once that is complete, but it is going to be easy to skirt around that and use this cliffs as cover and take out that tier 2 radar at the same time. And glancing back over in Oxide's base, we see pelters shooting away at all sorts of stuff going on here. It's just a wall being hit at the moment, but that is just the start. I'm trying to locate Oxide's commander. I wonder where it is. No, it's just sitting there by the energy storage, being a little bit dubious, being a little bit chameleon-like in terms of the camouflage ability. The Shell are going to sit there trying to take out as much as he can from Irontony and damaging Mushroomars, who appears now to be getting that tier 2 air. There is the tier 2 air factory with the tier 2 energy surrounding it. It is time for Mushroomars to move out with the levelers. They have got a little bit of advantage on the Shellers as long as they can keep moving, because they will manage to dodge those projectiles there as long as they keep moving. But the moment the Sheller gets the hit, it's curtains for that unit, and a little bit of splash damage as well. So you're really got to watch out for those Shellers. Not a lot of people use them, because instead people prefer to really get out the levelers and just make that push rather than whoa! Standoff, and Bumblebees coming in right here, doing all sorts of damage. We've got some hissing going on as it appears a catapult has been built. Let us see if we can find where this is. Indeed, here it is. Here is the catapult. What is it targeting? Let's have a look. It appears to be doing some friendly fire. That's a little bit dodgy. You really want to be watching out for that, but catapults, I'm not sure I've been able to cope with this new elevation mechanic which has been put in recent builds. Maybe not quite getting the arc of fire that they need. But now we see Irontony and Mushroomars really duking it out, almost leaving Oxide to his own devices now, with that little bit of artillery keeping him at bay. But Oxide and Mushroomars really wanting to fight against each other right now. Mushroomars pushing in with levelers. This is the thing with levelers, they are really the aggressive unit. The Shellers are more of a support unit here. You do not want Shellers on the front lines against levelers because they go down so easily, as we just saw there. So easily indeed. And the point defense is going to secure Irontony's successful defense here. Let us take a quick glance back over to Bertitude. appears to be continuing to get out some Hornets. He's not doing too many at this time, but if he can manage to pull off a successful commander snipe, he will be back in the running, or at least be feared for the time being. And he has expanded to these metal sites over here, so that is going to be an advantage to his economy. He is going to now be able to focus down on those Hornets, maybe using these fabricators that are sitting idle to do that. And zooming back, and back into Mushroomars' base, we have some hummingbirds getting some scouting. Not entirely sure what the point is there. They do not get any damage dealt to them, but instead we see Irontony and Mushroomars at each other's throats again. This time Mushroomars is beginning to get the shellers, seeing that it's going to be a sheller war here. We've got juggling going on between yellow and pink. Projectiles flying left, right and centre. Tier 2 point defence, defending really quite well against Irontony. All the shellers are now gone from Irontony. It is now a one-sided juggle. And Mushroomars is going to say, yep, this is my home turf. Don't you dare trespass, as you will be shot. And Oxide, we can see over here, beginning to reproduce on all accounts now, getting some bumblebees. Might be wise to get some hummingbirds. He's even getting some fireflies. And he's got quite a few ants now as well, maybe preparing for an ant spam to exploit the fact that he is being left alone. Maybe using that commander to build some more factories might be wise, or even get some more energy, but you really want to keep using your commander at all times in a game of Planetary Annihilation. And over here we see that Irontony has got a large force already, and there is some form of explosion going on. I wonder whether there's any flanking, but looking up here, Irontony has got a lot of tier 2 factories. Levelers, shellers, you name it, is being produced from Irontony now, who has a huge number of tier 2 factories. Coming back over here, he's sitting over here with some levelers guarding his flank, which is quite good, unless bombers come in, at which point you really might want some anti-air defense with that fabricator to actually build that. And it appears Bertitude's commander is doing a little bit of a wander around, getting a little bit too close to Mushroomars' base. Is he going suicide? We will have to wait and see, but it appears as though Bertitude's hornets have been shot out of the sky again. Let's quickly grasp back to this commander, who is now running into Mushroomars' base. This, among some ladder players, is considered a little bit of a dodgy move. And it appears as though while typing the commander still functions, and he wants to try and get that commander before it gets into his energy bay. He really wants to take it out now. Here it goes. Bertitude is going to die, but a fair bit of Mushroomars' base, in fact hardly any, is going to die. A lot is going to be damaged, but hardly any is going to die. So I think Mushroomars got off quite lightly there, and we now see that Bertitude is out of the game. So it is now a three-way free-for-all between Oxide, Irontony, and Mushroomars. And here we still have this Cold War going on now. We've mostly got a standoff. Might be wise to get some standing artillery going rather than the mobile. But here the shellers really saying, oi, this is our land, this is our range, you stay out of that line. If you cross that line, we will attack. And here it appears Irontony has crossed the line. Mushroomars is going to attack a little bit. It's going to be another juggle fest between Team Pink and Team Yellow. All sorts going on using these cliffs, and it appears Mushroomars' point defense is going to force Irontony to skirt the right way that Mushroomars actually wants him to do so. And Irontony here at a little bit of a disadvantage. And Mushroomars is going to successfully hold off against this offensive. Beautifully done. But already we see another follow-up army ready from Irontony. This is the beauty of having such high production value. This is a tier 2 mixed army already, already ready for a follow-up, and Mushroomars has got pretty much only just getting a little bit of units following in a straggler-like fashion, although Mushroomars no longer has to worry about Bertitude on that flank. And Mushroomars is realizing, purple has been a little bit silent here, looking back at Oxide's base. And we see he has done a huge amount since. We've got 2 tier 2 vehicle factories. We've got all sorts of expansion going everywhere around the planet. Might almost see Purple claim Bertitude's old base here. And as Oxide has continued to expand and expand and expand, might be ways to get some tier 2 air going out now. Mushroomars getting some scouting going on. And in fact, no, Irontony is going to attack Oxide. And he's going to see now, oh dear, I may have left this dude silent for too long. Bumblebee's zooming in now, doing some support. Mushroomars really wants alliances bad now. If you want alliances, sir, you go and play Civilization or Age of Empires. Planetary Annihilation has got Annihilation in it for a reason, and that is that one person is left standing. Gentleman's truce, attack him now. Oh my word, this is all sorts of stuff going on. Irontony being drawn into Oxide's base by the beautiful, sort of, almost struggling to find the word, but it's almost as though Oxide is sort of goading him on. You know, come on, look at this base, it's right for the picking. I wonder whether Oxide is playing a game here because Mushroomars might be able to push in. In fact, no, he's not. Irontony has built up a huge amount and can fight on both flanks at once with a huge number of units. Mushroomars having to retreat there as more juggling is going on pretty much everywhere. Back into Oxide's base, Irontony is continuing to pound through all sorts of economy now, really damaging out this, destroying this heavy mechs field. Bumblebees continuing to make passes, doing as much damage as they can, getting shot down by the all-purpose ants, but shellers are going to sit here shielded behind energy and power as they just pound away at these ants. So many shellers here from Oxide. Those ants are going to go down, but so much mechs has been destroyed there. Zooming back over to here between these two as now again. A lot of hummingbirds in the distance there from Irontony. But it appears as though the juggling is getting a little bit tired. Walls going up on both sides now. And Mushroomars appears to be making this push. It is time for Mushroomars to push in. Can he skirt around the shellers? No, he's not. He decides to cancel that assault. Back he waltzes. Back into his hole of shame. I have once again chosen pink, and pink is an inferior colour to yellow. And this just shows that right now. Take a note, Mushroomars. The era of pink is at an end. I could sort of quote the introduction of Planetary Annihilation trailer and adapt it for the pink. But in this lull of action, I'm going to zoom out of dynamic for a moment and just examine the field now to show you quite the expanse of players' bases. Irontony has claimed what looks like it might almost be a third of the planet's surface now. Oxide has got a little bit of a linear expansion, nowhere near the size of Irontony's base, and Mushroomars has got pretty much the same as Oxide at this point. In fact, I'd say the advantage goes to Mushroomars because Mushroomars does have that greater econ advantage. Especially, considering he's pushing up towards Bertitude, but so is Oxide now. Looking at these icons, we don't see much in terms of flanking going on. We see Mushroomars maybe preparing something back here, or maybe that's just defense at this point. But with this tier 2 vehicle factory, he might be wanting to push into the back of Oxide's base. And Oxide really wants to be wary of this, because if a bunch of levelers gets in there unnoticed, it is going to be curtains. And looking at these two army sizes here, we have Irontony has a vastly superior army size now to Mushroomars. A little bit of a fighter war going on over here. Might be a little bit unwise. Considering now, I think maybe Mushroomars is wondering, is it wise to do this? I want to get a commander snipe in, but I can't seem to claim air superiority at this time. It appears so, considering that are those tier 2? I can't quite see the icons, I'm afraid. Note they're just tier 1 hummingbirds all the same. Mushroomars getting some tier 2 econ going on over here, all sorts of stuff going on, and let's just zoom out for a second and watch the planet orbit the sun. Ah, moment of calm. And then we zoom straight back in to this front here between these forces. Back into dynamic camera mode we go. We see these forces still staring at each other. Yes, I know I'm zooming in. Let's have a look from Mushroomars' point of view right now. And that is quite a few vehicles and shellers from Irontony now. A huge number of tier 2 units in one clump. That is quite extraordinary. Projectiles going everywhere. Absolutely everywhere now. As we see these units stroll over the hills. The beautiful rolling hills of this arid plains. Mushroomars is really in a pickle now. He might want to use these Hornets. Indeed, we might see the Hornets being utilised in the distance. There they go. In fact, actually, I want to make sure I see what these are doing. They're going to skirt around the side. They're going to prepare to take Commander Snipe now that the army is indeed occupied with the front of Mushroomars' base. They seem to be stationary at the moment, and maybe Mushroomars wants to wait for now. Zooming out a bit more, we see Irontony's huge expanse of energy and mechs and all sorts going on. Whoops, excuse me. I do apologise for that. I forgot that shift zoomed you faster. And there goes a little bit of scouting from the air superiority. Mushroomars trying desperately to find the commander, who is just sat there now, surrounded by anti-air. Now here is another common misconception. Anti-air directly around your commander does not help, as you preferably want to destroy the bombers before they drop their bombing run. Looking back at Mushroomars, trying desperately to find those Hornets which I managed to have lost in my dynamic camera mode, but here they come, swooping around the north, skirting up, probably coming up, round and down. And indeed, no, here come the air superiority fighters. Those Hornets are going to go down before anything is done with them. Another waste of quite a few Hornets there from Mushroomars. Little bit of lag beginning to show now as well. Go back into dynamic camera mode now that the Hornet presence is no more. Trying desperately to find the front between the bases now. It is something of a standoff. Irontony just preparing for the big assault. Might be wise to do a two-pronged assault, but we do have walls over there, so maybe coming in between these cliffs here, rather than going and taking through those cliffs, and maybe using this as the main port of call in terms of the choke point assault region, that Mushroomars can also use that effectively as defense. But some shelling going on again. Oh my word, this is some artillery going on all sorts of places. Glancing back to Oxide's base, he's continuing to build up again, being left alone. He's got all of those metal sites reclaimed, getting some tier 2 energy up as well now. Might be time for him to really start capitalizing on some tier 2. Indeed he is. He's really expanded all sorts of places now. It's pretty much everywhere, but Mushroomars is seeing that there's an expansion here. Oxide going to build a tier 2 point defense where Mushroomars is building econ. He's going to stop that. Mushroomars is going to see this. He's going to leg it. And it might be time for Mushroomars' commander to move in on this. Indeed it will. But is it wise, considering there will be now 2 point defenses up by the time he gets there? About that gentleman's agreement, Oxide decides to tear the piece of paper declaring peace in our time to shreds. What a deja vu that is. This is very much reminiscent of the beginning of the Second World War here. We've got people sort of turtling up on all sides, just preparing to fight, staring each other down, goading each other on. Mushroomars saying, "Oi, leave me alone, Oxide's a danger to us." A threat indeed, except looking at these two, Oxide couldn't really take these on at this point. It's really a case of Mushroomars versus Tony, and Oxide is going to just be a little bit of a hampering nuisance in the distance over there with a lot of fighters going on. What is this? So many bombers taking out Mushroomars' commander. Can he get his superiority back in time? Are we going to see a T1 bomber commander snipe? It appears we do. Gosh, gosh! Mushroomars' commander is no more after a huge bumblebee spam. That is what happens if you go against bloomin' aggressive bumblebees. Irontony now diverting his whole force to Oxide's base. Maybe that was a little bit of miscalculation on Oxide's part, because Irontony has a huge amount of anti-air, he has a huge land army, and Oxide cannot fight against this at this point in time. Bumblebees are not going to manage it. He really wants to let the ants go in and draw the fire first before the bumblebees go in, but no, he uses the bumblebees first. They are going to get shot out of the sky before anything is done with them. Irontony is just going to waltz in and just run everything over now. In many ways I feel sorry for Oxide at this point, because Irontony has hugely outproduced him. Hugely outproduced him, and he's just going to continue to walk in uncontested now, desperately trying to get in some tier 2 point defense, but it is not going to happen in time unless these shellers and ants and levelers can maybe keep it at bay, but it is not. It has gone down. The fabricators are also going to go down, the bumblebees too. All sorts of destruction and havoc going on in Oxide's base right now. So many point defense desperately trying to get built in time, none of it to any actual success. And there's the GG from Oxide. Irontony realizing he has won the game now. There's the commander, gonna die. There it goes, self-explosion. The GG was called. Irontony wins this free-for-all. Well played. Well played, gentlemen. Well played. Looking back, Irontony's expansion was enormous. Irontony's tier 2 production was enormous. Irontony's energy and economy was enormous. It's just the model base. It really is. That continued expansion, defense on all fronts. I mean, you know, there's not too much defense here, but you do have the factories, and if you have 6 of them producing at different times, you are going to have the units there to defend at some point. And oh my word, so much damage. And there go, as I mentioned before, the levelers just waltzing into the back as well, doing all sorts of damage everywhere around, and just destruction on a massive scale, and it's beautiful. So again, well played Irontony, well played Mushroomars, Bertitude and Oxide. And beautiful game to cast, actually, quite exciting. And don't forget to stop by for more Planetary Annihilation pretty much daily. I might begin to slow down over the next few weeks because I am involved with other commitments, so whether I'll get enough recordings in for daily uploads I do not know. Apologies if I don't, but do not worry, I will be supporting this and continuing to do so all through the summer and into beta as well. Again, don't forget to drop a like or a comment, and please share it as far as you can, because this was a really exciting game to cast, and I hope everyone enjoyed it. Again, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe for more Planetary Annihilation coming your way very soon, and as ever, have a great day.